Welcome, friends, family, patriots, believers, conservatives of like. Welcome to The Grid, your intersection of faith, politics, and commerce. I'm really excited about our topics today. Shaun, what are we talking about?
Well, we've got like four topics coming down from the Supreme Court.
The
They've
Supreme
been
Court.
quite chatty and deliverable recently.
It has been, and it's pretty interesting as we read some of these cases. What all you hear in the media is that this is a right-wing court. It's all, everything is dominated by the conservatives. But some of the rulings don't really lend us to believe that. In fact, I have heard that the Supreme Court often votes, I would say 8-1, 9-0, unanimous on most of the cases, these highly charged cases where you start seeing ideological lines being drawn. But there's some cases here that we're going to discuss today that were a little bit surprising. So given the fact that January 6th was the topic of the debate and Jake Tapper was going after Trump on his involvement with January 6th, I thought, since the Supreme Court just ruled on this, thought it might be an interesting conversation to hear what they ruled on and what it means.
Indeed. And I do like that Trump was actually able to seize upon January 6th and flip it by talking about what the state of the country was in that rather than getting pinned down to something to a topic he didn't have time to address.
Yeah, it really is, because there's so many nuances to January the 6th. And audience, as you probably know, that's one of the many trumped up charges against him is inciting insurrection on January the 6th. So as we discuss the January 6th ruling, you really need to understand what the charges were. So we have an individual who went into the Capitol and was charged with obstruction of an official government proceeding, which results. It's amazing in our country how you can commit murder in New York and you can walk scot-free. But my goodness, you walk into the Capitol at the end of an election and your entire life can be ruined. I think we've really got that upside down. We're not here to talk about that, but I'm just saying, it really, really bothers me. So this particular individual sued because he said that's not obstruction. Well, you actually have to go back many years. If some of you remember the Enron meltdown, that was all about fraud and abuse and reporting your financial statements and shell corporations and all of this, that eventually led to Sarbanes-Oxley, which is really a financial reporting requirements by the federal government. Well, this whole idea of obstructing an official proceeding actually was born out of that, and it was specifically related to the hiding or destruction of documents. So it was like, to use in that particular case, is the government is issuing subpoenas for information because they want to know how in the world a multi-billion-dollar company has a complete meltdown and that their financials are all fraud. So the government is issuing subpoenas for information, and people are burning them, hiding them, getting rid of them, throwing them away, shredding them. And that was what this law was about, is like how to stop that. We're actually gonna create specific charges related to the obstruction of an investigation. So, and we're gonna talk about this later. I think it really dovetails when we talk about the Chevron doctrine a little bit later, but it dovetails, Shaun, on how the government takes something that's like this and very narrow and expands it to use it for something way beyond that. Do you see that in this case?
I do. I've seen, or I should say, we've seen the Democrat cartel go through and get very creative about existing laws. And let's see if we can stretch this, which is intended to cover zits and pimples, and let's see if we can get it to cover Mount Fuji.
That's exactly right. And so, I mean, you can make an argument um, about January 6th. You can make an argument that somebody who stormed the Capitol and the doors are locked, that's trespassing. Okay, I get that. If somebody is violent and attacks someone, then you can argue about assault. But you cannot argue that somebody going on the grounds or stepping inside should be charged for obstructing official proceedings under that particular statute when it was really meant for fraud, or not fraud, but the destruction of documents, hiding of documents, and so forth. In fact, I find it interesting. Jamal Bowman, who just lost his primary, by the way, the Democratic primary, was well known for, I don't remember what the vote was, but he was so frustrated because he wasn't getting his way that he pulled the fire alarm. He wasn't in charge. I mean, can you get more in obstructing an official proceeding than pulling a fire alarm that requires everybody to evacuate? He was in charge. So interesting. The Supreme Court said, no, you cannot take this statute and apply it to this situation. This is about the destruction of documents. It's about the hiding of a document. This has nothing to do with this. And this is my view. I didn't actually read the opinion of the court, although sometimes I do because I'm kind of nerdy that way. I think this really has this intersection and this what I would call this healthy tension between the law, but also freedom of speech. And the vast majority of people on January 6th were expressing their free speech rights. The moment you say that you expressing your free speech rights is now obstructing official proceedings and is a crime that results in fines and jail time, that's a problem. That is a problem in our country.
Oh, it's a big problem. It is. And there's something else I'd like to point out at the same time. Ooh, warning, monkey wrench. It's very interesting that simultaneously on January 6th, we have police officers moving fencing. Okay, opening fencing so people can come in, and opening doors to let people in, while at the same time, I think I've already said simultaneously, we've got other people standing at doors that are locked and at windows that are closed and trying to beat their way in. So it's like we've got gates and doors opening, and then we have beat these in. Now, I guarantee you, because any smart person, any thinking person could figure this out for themselves, that the folks that were trying to bash things in were instigated by people who were planted at the event. And you know what party they come from?
The cartel.
The cartel.
Sounds eerily like entrapment.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I think what we want to settle on, this is a good ruling. It likely is going to impact Trump because he's charged with obstructing official proceedings as well. And the Supreme Court says, yeah, this just doesn't fly. So I'm happy for other protesters who've been prosecuted under this particular rule, this particular law, because it's going to benefit them as well. It's going to benefit Trump. And I think the Supreme Court found the right balance, found the right spot for freedom of speech. You want to trespass where doors are locked? Okay, charge with trespassing. If you want to destroy property, you can charge with that too. Which, by the way, that really didn't happen. It happened very little in this case. But taking it this far is punitive, and it's wrong. And the Supreme Court found it that way. So pretty excited. I think they landed in the right spot.
You've been listening to The Grid, the intersection of faith, politics, and commerce. Till next time.
Till next time.